Iran and the US. From allies to enemies, a 100-year saga of power, betrayal, and war. Imagine being best friends for decades, sharing secrets, helping each other grow, only to become bitter enemies overnight. How does that happen between nations? Between Iran and the United States, it wasn't just a breakup. It was a geopolitical earthquake. A revolution that didn't just overthrow a king, it shattered a worldview. 1979 Revolution. This is the story of how a deeply rooted alliance between two powers unraveled. How a revolution in 1979 redefined Middle East politics. How decades of strategic partnership turned into 4 decades of hostility, suspicion, and conflict. The Seeds of Alliance, 1925 to 1950, black and white footage of 1920s Iran, old maps. It all began in 1925, when Reza Khan, a military officer, overthrew the Qajar monarchy and crowned himself Reza Shah Pahlavi. He was determined to drag Iran into the modern age, centralizing power, curbing the clergy, and embracing Western institutions. Photos of American educators in Iran. The US wasn't a colonial power like Britain or Russia. In fact, early American involvement in Iran was minimal but surprisingly positive. American teachers helped open schools. Doctors and engineers improved health and infrastructure. Iran saw the US as a neutral, benevolent friend. Cold War chessboard, 1950 to 1953. Footage of Mohammad Mossadegh, oil fields, angry protests, then came the oil. In 1951, Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh nationalized Iran's oil industry, kicking out the British-owned Anglo-Iranian Oil Company. Britain panicked and turned to the US for help. CIA declassified the result? Operation Arjux. In 1953, the CIA and MI6 orchestrated a coup that removed Mossadegh and returned the Shah to power. For the West, it was a Cold War win. For Iranians, it was betrayal, a blow to democracy delivered by a so-called ally. The Shah's golden age and fallout, 1953 to 1979, colorful 1960s Tehran, modernization projects, US weapons, grateful for his throne. The Shah aligned closely with the US. Iran became a regional powerhouse, flush with American weapons and oil revenue. F-14 fighter jets, guided missiles, advanced training for the military and secret police, courtesy of the USA. Footage of Savak, White Revolution, rural poverty. But it wasn't all glitter. The Shah's White Revolution, land reform, women's rights, education, alienated the clergy and rural poor. The dreaded Savak crushed dissent with American support. Inflation soared. Inequality widened. The streets simmered with rage. Old videos of Ayatollah Khomeini in exile. From exile, a cleric named Ayatollah Khomeini spoke through tapes and sermons. His message: the Shah is an American puppet. Islam is the answer. The people listened. The revolution that changed everything, 1979. Tehran in chaos, Shah leaving, Khomeini returning. By 1979, the dam burst. Millions protested. The Shah fled. And on February 1st, Khomeini returned in triumph. The Islamic Republic was born. Dark footage of embassy hostage crisis. Just months later, furious students stormed the US Embassy in Tehran. They took 66 hostages, 52 of whom were held for 444 days. Why? The US had allowed the Shah into New York for cancer treatment. Iran wanted him extradited. America refused. The students responded. Montage of American news coverage, Carter's speech, protests. To Americans, it was a national humiliation. To Iranians, it was revenge. That single act shattered diplomacy. The US froze assets, imposed sanctions, and cut ties. The friendship was dead. From Cold War to Proxy War, 1980 to 2000, maps of Middle East, footage from Iran-Iraq War. In the 1980s, Iran and the US became sworn enemies. During the Iran-Iraq War, America backed Saddam Hussein, offering intel, cash, and political support, even as Iraq used chemical weapons. Tragedy footage: Iran Air Flight 655 explosion. In 1988, the USS Vincennes shot down Iran Air Flight 655, killing 290 civilians. It was a mistake, but Iran never forgot. Hezbollah fighters training, Lebanon bombings. Meanwhile, Iran built a new strategy: fight indirectly, train militias, fund proxies, attack through shadows. Groups like Hezbollah, funded and trained by the IRGC, targeted US and Israeli assets. The 1983 Beirut barracks bombing killed 241 American servicemen. The proxy web expands, 2000s present. Fast montage of proxy groups, Houthis, PMF, Fatemian, Iran's network of armed non-state allies, what the West calls the axis of resistance, grew. In Iraq, Shia militias targeted U.S. troops post-2003. In Yemen, Iran-backed Houthis hit Saudi and U.S. targets. In Syria, Afghan and Pakistani fighters served Iran's interests. Hamas and Islamic Jihad rockets firing. Even in Palestine, groups like Hamas and Islamic Jihad received Iranian support. These weren't puppets, but partners in Iran's fight against Israeli occupation and U.S. dominance. Moments of hope and collapse. Footage of Iran-U.S. talks, Obama's JCPOA speech, in 2015, hope flickered. The Iran nuclear deal, JCPOA, was signed. Iran agreed to limit uranium enrichment. Inspectors got access. Sanctions were lifted. It was the biggest breakthrough in 40 years. Trump's speech cancelling JCPOA, then came 2018. President Donald Trump pulled out of the deal, calling it a disaster. Sanctions returned. Iran restarted enrichment. Relations sank. Iranian protests, Soleimani funeral, U.S. bases hit. In 2020, the U.S. killed Qasem Soleimani, Iran's top general. Tehran responded with missile strikes on U.S. bases. The cycle of retaliation deepened. Dialogue seemed impossible. Scene 8, The War of 2025, breaking news graphics, explosions in Iran and Israel, and then, it happened. In June 2025, Israel launched a surprise airstrike on Iran's nuclear facilities. Citing fears of weapons-grade uranium, they hit hard. IRGC launches missiles, Red Sea conflict, proxies mobilizing, Iran struck back. Missiles and drones targeted Israeli cities. Houthis attacked U.S. ships in the Red Sea. Hezbollah opened fire in the north. Operation Midnight Hammer. Pentagon footage. The U.S. joined in, launching Operation Midnight Hammer, a blistering campaign against Iran's nuclear and military infrastructure. Donald Trump in Qatar, secret talks. Ironically, it was Donald Trump, through back-channel diplomacy, who helped mediate a ceasefire after 12 days of combat. Qatar, Oman, and other Gulf players brokered peace. News clips showing destruction, civilian impact. The result? Hundreds dead. Cities damaged. Nothing resolved. Iran still has its proxies. Israel still feels threatened. The U.S. is still stuck in the middle. A legacy of pain and potential. 1970s allies vs 2025 enemies. The collapse of Iran-U.S. relations wasn't sudden. It was a slow-motion train wreck of coups, revolutions, broken promises, and bruised pride. Iranian youth waving American flags, American tourists in Iran. Yet beneath the rubble lies something often forgotten, curiosity, even admiration. Many Iranians once admired America. Many Americans admired Persian history, poetry, and culture. Old footage of shared scientific, medical, and academic projects. For a brief moment in the 20th century, they dreamed together. Built together. That's the tragedy, and the hope. Closing scene, soft piano music, time-lapse of Tehran sunrise narrator, voiceover. What if it's not too late? What if this story isn't just about war, but about learning from the past? Can Iran and America ever rebuild trust? Can enemies become partners again? Only time, and courage, will tell. If you found this story insightful, subscribe for more deep dives into global conflicts, history, and diplomacy. Because understanding the past is the first step to shaping the future.